High drama in the halls of power again. Our roundtable on the timing, the fallout, and what's next in Washington. And who does the internet think you are? We'll talk to the author of a new book on privacy in the digital age. Today is Sunday, May 14, 2017, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint. Glad you're with us. I'm going to start this morning with an admission, one that is not easy for a confident writer to make. I am beginning to struggle to find new ways of saying, well, that was a dramatic week, and here I am again on a Sunday morning in the very same quandary, and I'm hardly the only one. John Dingell tweeted this week, I thought by the age of 90 nothing would surprise me anymore, and yet here I am. That came after President Trump fired James Comey as the head of the FBI. He said it was on the recommendation of the Deputy Attorney General and sent his army of spokespeople out to say the same thing. But 2 days later, he told Lester Holt, nah, it was his idea, and he's been wanting to do it for some time. But then came reports that he was trying to elicit a promise of loyalty from Comey, a promise Comey wasn't apparently willing to make. Now, firing the guy who is investigating you is very risky business. There have been quite a few comparisons to Richard Nixon's firing of Archibald Cox, but the example that immediately came to mind for me was much more current. Kwame Kilpatrick fired Gary Brown, who was investigating the rumors of the Manoogian Mansion party. Those rumors never came to anything, but that firing started the high-stakes game of Jenga that eventually brought down the House of Kilpatrick. I have no idea where things are headed for this White House, but I do know that once again, the cheese has been moved. We were debating the budget, and President Trump returned to health care. We were debating the health care bill, and President Trump fired Comey. We'll try to find the cheese this morning. And then, just who does the internet think you are? And is the internet right? Are you just the sum of your data? It's all this morning on Flashpoint. All right, let's start things off with the roundtable this morning. Good group with me today. Very happy to have with me columnist from the Detroit Free Press, Brian Dickerson, the head of the Detroit Civil Rights Division, and a veteran of the Justice Department in Washington under the President Obama administration, Portia Roberson. Lena Epstein is back with us. She, of course, was the head of Donald Trump's campaign here in Michigan. And Paul W. Smith of the serendipitously named Paul W. Smith Show.
Great name for a show.
WJ. It was a great name, and then they found you for it.
Yeah, thank God they found me. What were they going to do?
You gave an audible groan when I talked about firing the investigator.
No, here's the thing. Olive calls. I always say I can't make it. I was thrilled I could make it. And I turned to Brian in the green room and I said, I never even asked what we were going to talk about.
I wonder what would be the
And Brian
topic.
says, well, without calling me duh or dummy, he said, probably the president. I went, oh, yeah.
It has been that kind of a week again. Lena, let me ask you, though. Do you see anything wrong with the way that the president proceeded with this past week in the Comey odyssey?
I don't think there's ever going to be a convenient time to fire the head of the FBI. It's never going to be a convenient moment. Mm-hmm. And whether that was on day 1, day 2001, it's never going to be easy. And I know that the president's primary focus is to restore American confidence in the FBI. And that is his objective to date, and I stand behind that objective.
If I submit, though, that I agree with you, it's never a good time, I think some would suggest that right after he talks about the Russia investigation in front of Congress and firing the person who's investigating you might be a particularly bad time.
I can understand why the optics would be concerning. Yeah. I certainly can. I think any rational person could. With that in mind, there would never be an easy time for him to do what he did, and he felt that it was necessary to restore American confidence.
Portia, as somebody who's been around the Justice Department, this doesn't happen very often, clearly, but I think a lot of people would point out this is the president's discretion. This is one of those you serve at the pleasure of the president.
Absolutely.
Time to go.
Yeah, anytime you get an appointment from the president, they tell you serve at his pleasure, and he can let you go for any reason, or as James Comey said in his goodbye letter, no reason at all. I think, though, the way it was done in terms of having him find out while he was giving a speech to FBI recruits, rather than having someone deliver the message, or even having the president deliver the message to him, probably would have been a better way to do it. We've kind of mastered the way of talking to one another without having to see one another in person. telephone, text, all of those things. So he could have used any of those. He seems to know how to use Twitter. He could have probably used that to let it be known. And certainly the fact that they are investigating him, and there's no question that this was done because they are investigating him. You know, this week he released saying that he had a certified letter that said he had no ties to Russia. He is probably the most ridiculous man we've ever seen in the White House. And so his allegations that this had nothing to do with that are just unfounded and scream a lie.
I'll turn to Paul now, since
Portia, I just want to say, Portia, we don't know each other real well, but look, I don't want you to sugarcoat it. Tell us how you really feel. Look, for whatever reason, maybe it's because he used to run his own empire and didn't have to answer to anybody. Certainly. But he doesn't think about a lot of this stuff. It's ridiculous to fire a guy who then walks to the jet he flew into California and go, can I get on? And they go, we have to check because you're no longer the FBI director, so we're not sure. I mean, that is throwing gasoline on the fire and giving everyone an opportunity to scratch their head and say this is ridiculous. As Portia said, and as the FBI director, former director, said, I serve at the wish of the president. The president doesn't wish for me to serve anymore. He can fire me for any reason or no reason at all. Yeah. If it would have been handled differently. But this has happened time and time again. I agree with the president doing whatever it is he feels he needs to do. I don't always agree with the way he does it.
There's the handling of it, Brian, and then there's the substance of it. The president's supporters and the president himself are saying, look, the Democrats and liberals have for months been telling me that James Comey is not fit to lead the FBI. I get rid of him, and I can't win with you people.
Nobody, I don't think, has ever questioned James Comey's credibility, which is what the president has tried to make this about. They've questioned his judgment. I've questioned his judgment.
I was going to say, I have to go back and look at your columns from October of last year.
Nobody at this table believes that James Comey was fired because he was unfair to Hillary Clinton last summer. Nobody believes that. And that is the root of the problem. Nobody believes this president anymore. Nobody believes the people who work under him. I
don't know if I would agree with that at all. It's never appropriate to necessarily talk on behalf of a nation or a total governing body. There are a lot of folks in this country, wonderful citizens, who strongly support our president and continue to do so. I'm with Paul, and by the way, I'm loving this panel. I'm with Paul in that he is a man that did not have tons of seasoning politically. He doesn't have some of the eloquence and timing that we would like to see. And I got to tell you something.
I can see this president wanting to fire Comey for a long time. And when he gets this report that says basically he should fire him, he says, that's it, I'm firing him, fire him now, and that's that, and he moves on. Because in business, he did that. But you can't do it here.
But apparently he asked for the report.
Well, he wanted to know what they thought about it before he made his final decision. I would presume we would want a president to get some input.
You know, even in his real estate days, and it's ironic for a man whose trademark is "you're fired," Donald Trump has never been very good at firing people. He doesn't like to do it. He rarely does it himself. It's expensive for him to do it because he usually purchases the silence of the people he's firing at an exorbitant price. He's made a hash of this throughout his commercial life. And this is just one more example. But I think it's completely missing the point to say this was politically maladroit or bad judgment. We can talk about Comey, we can talk about Michael Flynn, we can talk about the stalled legislative initiatives or the blocked executive orders. For 4 months, we've been covering the same story. The Commander-in-Chief of the United States has a cognitive problem. He has a personality disorder that would not be tolerated in leadership in any other institution.
Those are some really harsh
Dr.
words.
Dickerson, Dr. Dickerson, have you ever really talked to this patient?
Paul W. Smith, if you went on the air, if you told as many whoppers in a month
I'd be syndicated and make lots more money.
President of the United States, as the President of the United States was told in the last week, they put you on medical leave.
In an interview with The Economist, he seemed to try to take credit for inventing the phrase prime the pump. I mean, that's weird.
Fair enough. At the end of the day, it's really, really inappropriate to say that our president has a cognitive disorder, a cognitive problem. He is a different type of president than one that we are used to. But that doesn't mean that he has a cognitive problem. He is arguably a very intelligent and successful man. You can
Lena, you cannot believe that.
I didn't say he wasn't
How
intelligent.
long do you go with this guy?
First, go ahead, and then I got to get to the break.
You not have a
you can
cognitive
disagree
disorder.
with something
this man
that somebody
has led the country
says.
into the weeds for 4 months now. I am literally afraid of where we're going next with this man. I mean, the man has governed the country by tweeting.
You were afraid before he took office, Portia.
And he's proven me right.
And
My fear is founded. My fear is well founded.
You know what?
Paul, you know how this goes. I got to get to a break.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I'm afraid. But we will continue with this conversation on Flashpoint on Local 4. Welcome back, Flashpoint. Our conversation about the week that was in Washington. Lena, I think you bristle a bit at the characterizations that you hear of the president from people. You've spent time with him, and I think you see somebody quite different from the person who's characterized and caricatured, I guess I should say, by the late night comedians and on and on and on.
Absolutely. I have an ongoing relationship with him and with the White House. And as somebody who has spoken on his behalf and continues to do so, I think it's important that people have an opportunity to see some of what I've seen. And I've seen a man who's kind, who's good, who's intelligent, whose heart is in the right place. He is the hardest working president, arguably, that we've ever had. And when you look at the commitments,
I'm not sure what standard is that?
The hours that he puts in, he's not distracted by shiny objects, bells and whistles. He's very focused.
If he had run for president saying, I'm going to spend a lot of weekends in Florida playing golf and my family is never going to move into the White House, what would that have done to the campaign, do you suppose?
I think that that's easy to criticize somebody, but at the end of the day, he's working when he's at Mar-a-Lago. He's working hard. He has hosted so many international leaders. We could go on and on.
I have to say, I've known him for 30 years. I don't talk about this very much, but I used to see him and interview him when I worked at WABC in New York a very long time ago. If you asked me then if I thought he'd ever be president of the United States, I honestly would have said, no, I don't think he'll want to be president of the United States. Why would he? He's got everything going on, and it's only going to get better. But he's an unusual guy, and he's a quirky guy. But I'll have to absolutely agree with Lena. He never stops working. He is working all the time. And it could be argued that he has accomplished a lot in a relatively short period of time. You may not like everything he's accomplished. You know what I'd like to say to us, though, to all of us? We should be embarrassed, whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, a conservative, a liberal. You should be, as I am, embarrassed about the Republicans who, for 8 years, criticized Obamacare, and then when the time came, they had no idea what to do. That was embarrassing to me as a mostly conservative, mostly Republican person. Embarrassing. And if you don't admit that, then shame on you. But on the other hand, in this case, with the firing of Comey, oh my God, no one can say they didn't want it done. All these Democrats who wanted him fired and now are appalled that he's been fired, that's embarrassing too.
Well, my argument would be to that. I agree with you that I think that to say now that Democrats didn't want him fired is a mistake. But I think what Democrats would ask for is that he was honest about why he fired him. Instead of making up this argument
and
that
this is the other part that I talked about, Portia, at the beginning. Why in the heck does he have to do it the way he does it and then start throwing him under the bus? He's done. He fired him. We all know that. He should say he served his country well, and we just wanted to move on to a different area. Instead of saying he's a showboater, he's a this, he's a that. Stop it.
And Brian, to Paul's earlier point, as you watch the way that this played out through the week, Donald Trump's supporters, like Lena and Paul, are still right where they've been. His critics are right where they've been. We still are living along this extraordinary divide where one side doesn't give the other side any credit and the other side doesn't want to ever criticize their own side.
That may be true of the electorate to some extent. The Republicans that I talk to are frightened. Republican lawmakers who care about moving the ball on health care and tax reform are frightened that they're just going to be dead in the water for the next 18 months while we deal with the phenomenon that is Donald Trump.
I talked to a Republican this week who told me that he didn't care how crazy all this was. Gorsuch has been installed on the Supreme Court, and Donald Trump may get a chance to put 2 more on, and that's all he cared about. That's all that mattered.
And I have written that I hope Democrats support any competent, qualified conservative he nominates to the court, because the legitimacy of the judiciary is so important right now. Donald Trump has been waging a campaign of attrition against a whole branch of government, and it's so important to shore that up as a firewall against the constitutional confrontation that is coming.
If I would agree, Brian, with what you said about the fear from the Republican Party. The fear comes from the great level of divisiveness and the fact that there are many, many congresswomen and congressmen who hate Donald Trump more than they love America. And that their ability to get things done will be stymied. And I think that that's where the fear comes from.
Absolutely not true. I don't think it comes from any hate for Donald Trump.
We can respectfully disagree.
We can respectfully disagree. The reality of it is that this president over the last 4 months or so has not really shown the kind of characteristics that the American people expect in a president in terms of the decisions he's going to make, the way he's going to operate the office. I don't think there are Congress people out there that are turning away from their love of America because they want to hate Donald Trump more. And if that were the case, I would make the argument that the same could be said for Republicans through 8 years of Obama.
But Portia, his supporters elected a man that they believed was going to completely upset the apple cart, that was going to change the way things, the way that it's been done in Washington, and he's done exactly that.
Right, and I've given up on the idea. People call me all the time and say, well, this is the thing that's going to, lead to his impeachment. I've given up on that. I feel like we're going to have to deal with this man for at least the next 4 years. Hopefully, not a day longer than that, to be honest.
You know what, Portia? That's part of the problem that people from the beginning thought about impeachment. It's like as soon as he got in, because he wasn't supposed to be there, we have to impeach him.
No,
you know what?
It's not that.
As
it's
an
the ties
observer,
to Russia that make people want to look into
all
whether
I
or
want
not
is for this stuff that we keep arguing about to go away, and these guys in Washington actually accomplishing something for us.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I got to leave it there.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Thanks, gang, very much for the conversation. Flashpoint continues right after this. Welcome back, and now a very existential question. Yes, perhaps you have a great grasp of exactly who you are, but what if we boil you down to your ones and zeros? What does the digital world think of you? If you think not much, you may not fully grasp what your computer and phone behavior is doing to create your digital dossier. A new book explores it in detail that is either clear-minded and frank or daunting and frightening, depending on your point of view of the future. The book is We Are Data, Algorithms and the Making of Our Digital Selves, written by the University of Michigan professor John Cheney-Lippold. It's out from NYU Press. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
And great to have you here, John. I think anybody who has ever shopped for pants online and then gone to their Facebook page and suddenly realized there's a lot of ads on here for pants has understood that our behavior is making an impression and creating an impression of us. But I don't think we have a grasp of the level that you're talking about.
Yeah, I think with the example of pants, your data doesn't just suggest that you like pants. It suggests the time at day and the day you might want to buy those pants. So it's like maybe you're not a morning shopper, maybe you're more like an afternoon shopper. So they'll know that, and they won't show you the advertisement until about 5:30 when you're done with work.
This all has a very Big Brother feel to it. Are you concerned about that side of it as much as I am?
No, it's a really good point, because we use this idea of Big Brother, but often that requires this kind of oppressive system that is just trying to push you into one singular box. Right. I think now we can use, it's a gender term, but instead of a Big Brother, we have a lot of little sisters. And the little sisters are trying to be caretaking, compassionate, but at the same time are giving us different perspectives of the world that might not be the perspective we want.
The other thing that's interesting is that in our sort of 1984 world, the way that we viewed this is this data would be collected and then viewed by a human being making determinations. Actually, this data is being viewed, collected, collated, and then used by computers themselves.
Mm-hmm. It's almost as if humans have no role in the process. They do code the algorithm and choose where the data comes from. But often when we think of privacy, we think of a person looking at your data and say, I know you did that. But increasingly, nobody is actually looking at it, but nonetheless, your privacy is being invaded because you don't really have the sense to what Louis Brandeis and Samuel Warren once called the right to be let alone.
Yeah. Once we get online, have we given up our right to be left alone? Is that the contract that we've kind of signed?
It is the explicit contract in a lot of what the terms of services for sites like Google or Facebook or Twitter. I think that there are ways we can be let alone, but it's not in the way that we historically know, of nobody at all is looking at us, nobody at all is taking cue from what we're doing.
Well, I guess the question also becomes, how right are these algorithms? Because you and I were saying before the segment, you think Google believes that you're a middle-aged woman.
Yeah, so your viewers can look at this, they just Google what gender does Google think I am, and it'll tell you based on your search queries and your web pages that you visit under the Google empire, who they interpret you to be. Obviously, this isn't necessarily trying to represent our real-world identities, it's trying to predict behavior. And so somehow, in the data I use and the data I produce, I'm performing like a digital algorithmic woman.
Because you spend time on travel sites, you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I've spent at travel sites. I do gender studies as a professor, but also basic things like Facebook is about 55% female, 45% male. So even going to Facebook a little bit nudges your gender a little bit.
The assumption, suddenly you click on Facebook, the assumption already pushes you in that direction.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. The other part of this then about privacy. When we're online sending an email, do we just have to assume that we have just written this in the sky somewhere and everybody can see it? Or are there ways for us to really... I'm curious about your own browsing and emailing habits.
So there's two things that are really important. One comes from the idea of this privacy bill that was rolled back by the administration earlier last month that really gives ISPs complete carte blanche to look at everything that's coming from your computer. That is entirely new compared to existing surveillance of email and other things by Gmail, which normally accounts only for about 25% of the web. In terms of knowing how to actually get around this, you can encrypt your email, but at the same time, it's really hard to say that anything is truly safe or private online.
Do you use a specific browser? Because you've looked into this more than anybody then that I know, and I'm curious what you do, or do you just give it all up and go, none of this is private? I can't be.
For me, I do both, which is weird. I accept that there's probably no explicit privacy that I can maintain that has historically, given me the sense of security of being who I am. But also, I do things. There's this one browser plugin that I'm actually a big fan of. It's called Track Me Not. And so instead of saying, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing, it's saying, I'm going to have what I do normally online, but I'm going to also automatically throw 60 different queries of a random machine-generated queries onto Google, so nobody really knows who I am.
Interesting. The last thing I wanted to get to is the scarier piece of all this, maybe. Elon Musk is spending an awful lot of time and money on an effort right now that makes sure that computers don't take over and destroy us. Given all that you've now learned about the way that these algorithms sort of become this ever proliferating bacteria, are you worried about that day?
I'm not necessarily worried about being destroyed. I am worried about being controlled. I think there's an idea of the singularity, which is that we're going to become code ourselves and we don't need our bodies. We can upload our consciousness to the cloud. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do think that the world is being rewritten in these digital algorithmic terms, and we don't really know how they are or what they define us as, but nonetheless, they have an extraordinary capacity for control.
It's fascinating stuff. John, I'm so glad you were here. Thanks very much. The book is We Are Data, out from NYU Press. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here as well. Meet the Press coming up next. Have a great week. We'll see you next time for Flashpoint. It was great.